Hello, good evening, good afternoon in some parts of the world. Good afternoon to Lana Louise, who is our special guest in our Spiritual Awakening series. I'm Monica, I'm joining you from London. Lana Louise is joining you from Massachusetts. Hello, Lana, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Monica, for having me.
It's absolute pleasure. We've been chatting to Lana on a few occasions. Lana is a great spiritual teacher, and I will talk about it in a moment. Today, we wanted to focus on your experiences of near-death experience and also over the body experience, which sometimes in my understanding might be almost the same but not quite. So I would love to introduce your experiences to our viewers. If you would like to tell us about near-death experience, and for those who might not be aware of what it is when people in near-death situations find themselves outside of their bodies and experience interesting downloads, I would say. But Lana, please tell us, you had 3 near-death experiences, so please tell us about them.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, and thank you again, Monica, so much. I thought about this before we got on, and a lot of people are very interested in near-death experiences. And also, too, a lot of people, they have their own beliefs. So all I can do is share with you and everyone on this platform of what I've been through, and that has been through many studies around the world about near-death experience or out-of-body experiences. So throughout my life, just briefly, just to explain to you what I started with is, I was born very sick. I was born with epilepsy. It was extremely difficult for me and for my family to see me go through this. So, I've always had this feeling of there's always been something greater than me. And, as we get older, um, we know that, or sometimes different struggles in our lives, we may kind of doubt our faith in some ways. And we don't have to have a near-death experience in order for anybody to understand what I've gone through and other people have gone through. So really quickly, being born sick, it was extremely difficult. And I always thought, in remembering, how could you possibly, remember a near-death experience? It's so young. So as far as I could remember, I always thought it was at the age of 5. Well, years later, a few years back, I actually got certified as a clinical certified hypnotist under the National Guild Association, which is worldwide. And I had asked the instructor, she said, look, we have to practice. And I said, okay. And she said, what would you like to do? And I said, I want you to bring me as far back as possible because I can only remember the age 5 because it was traumatic. Well, little do I have to say is that it brought me back to the age of 2. So how could you absolutely remember the age 2? Like, how do you remember? I'm getting older and I forget what I did 5 minutes ago sometimes.
I can join the
Right? So she brought me back to the age 2 and she actually recorded the whole session. And it was very traumatic for me, but it gave me a lot of clarity because when somebody goes through a near-death experience, and again, if anyone, they basically feel in their own belief and see in their being of what they've gone through in their life and through that near-death experience. So that was at the age of 2. And it is actually in my book. Being born with epilepsy, I had a seizure at that time. I didn't know what it was. So I didn't know about that. And it was never discussed as I got older. Then around the age of 5 years old, I remember sitting on the porch at my mom and dad's house. And for some reason, I went in a whole nother state being mental awareness, which was actual more like which we call it now as astral projection. I completely left my body. and I had a complete conversation with God. And all I remember, I don't know how long I was there for. My mother came out to the porch and she said to me, "What are you doing?" And I said to her, "I'm talking to God." And I never forgot that. And this subject was never talked about with my mother until 2019. I was raised very strict Catholic, okay? Things like this you make up, you have imaginary friends, you don't know what you're talking about. It would be the embarrassment to the family, or people might think you're going crazy, right? So, and me being sick, having seizures, I would have anywhere between 20 to 40 seizures a day. So it was difficult. Some
That's
petite malls, some grand malls. And again, you don't have to have a near-death experience to understand your true self inside. Inside. But being young, I didn't understand this. You know, I was still being sawed off as Catholic. I can't think of these things. I'm going to be punished. And going through my life in different experiences and struggles, I always remembered that. But I says, oh, maybe I'm making it up. And then at the age of 10, I had a serious accident. I was 10 years old, and me and my family, and we went down to the beach. And my father said to me, okay, you can walk down to the Black Rocks. It's a section where out in New England, the waves, the tides come up, and the rocks are very slippery. So as my sister was walking out, and my parents were back at the house, and I was only 10 years old, and that was the first time I was left alone. Because of my illness, I was never able to do things that the normal kids would be able to do. So this was a big thing for me. And to follow my footsteps, my sister's footsteps, walked along the beach. I see her going off, and my older sister was very tough. Needless to say, within seconds, as I stepped on the rock, a big, huge wave came up and hit me in the face. When that happened, I don't really remember anything as per saying remember, but I literally remember the waves hitting me in my eyes, the salt water, and then getting pulled under the ocean. And then as that was happening, I felt a tugging on my arm. But instantly I started to rise and see my body from a whole different level. I looked and I seen my sister and people come running out from underneath the water, trying to pull me out of the water. And I was just watching all this, not knowing I was actually out of my body because I had no idea. I was 10 years old. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm dreaming this. I had no clue what was going on. Well, then it got more severe. So when they pulled me out of the water, as I'm watching this, my sister was trying to wake me up. And I noticed I couldn't answer her. When I hit down, I cracked my head wide open in the back of my skull, and I also cut my leg wide open. So I ended up having 168 stitches on my leg. So I lost a lot of blood. So I was not responsive whatsoever. These people finally brought me to my parents' home at the beach at that time. Through the whole time when they picked me up and my sister, I was watching, and I was outside the van watching me put my physical body inside the van. And I kept on saying, geez, I should follow them. And I was literally hovering outside the van, watching all of this transpire as I could see my physical body in the back of the van with my leg tied up in a towel as a tourniquet so the blood would stop pouring out. And I watched all this. They brought me back to my father's home, the beach home that we were staying. And I remember watching all this and him trying to get me to the hospital. And I remember standing next to my father. And my father was so scared, saying, you're going to be okay, you're going to be okay. But I couldn't answer him. And I could see all the nurses and doctors hooking me up with machines because I lost so much blood. And I remember trying to talk to my father, and he couldn't hear me. Nothing was coming out. And I realized at that point I was not there in my body. I was literally next to my dad. So hours later, I finally came to, and the doctor had said to me, "How are you doing?" And I said, "It hurts." And that was the first time I felt physical pain since I was pulled underneath the water. So then I realized at 10 years old, little did I know what to call it. Again, I thought it was just a bad dream, or maybe something just, I couldn't explain. And that stayed with me for a very long time. And I very much got grounded. My parents were extremely strict with me. And I never spoke about this again. This was like the second time. like, but I can tell you, being in that moment, standing next to my father in the hospital room, in the emergency room, I remember my father's pain. I remember
You could
his
feel it. You
pain.
could feel the pain. You could feel it.
I
Really.
could see the panic and the pain, and I couldn't tell him, "I'm fine. I'm going to be fine," because I felt nothing, but I could see everything that was going on. So that was when I was 10 years old. And again, we didn't speak about this. And, between the age 2, the age 5 again, and the age, the age 10. But at the age 5, I kind of skipped over. At the age 5, I did speak to my mom a year later, well, much years later, about what transpired on the porch. And it was
Mhm.
never brought again to my attention again. So at the age 5, my grandmother, I was very, very close to my grandparents, and I was always at their house. Well, I must have had a full-blown grand mal seizure. And I remember again at that point sitting at the table and going to eat my food and then completely leaving my body. Now, when you have a grand mal seizure, if it's not controlled, you can die from it. Your oxygen and the brain waves get cut off. Um, so, and I got to be honest with you, I knew something happened, but again, when you're young, you don't realize. Oh, again, it's now that I'm older and I've talked to many people in the work I do and the growth and spiritual work that I've done and, even the hypnosis and everything and through counseling sessions, because it did bother me quite a bit, because I never felt as though I felt fit in this world, even at such a young age, at age 2, and then at 5, having really leaving my body for the first time for a long time and seeing myself again on the ground and underneath the kitchen table while having a grand mal seizure. My grandmother and grandfather were trying to help me as best as they could. I remember, and I think with a lot of near death experiences, everybody will talk about the light or the tunnel, and the peace and the love.
Yes, I hear that. Yes, I've had a couple of interviews, and there was that message, that download of love and light.
It's, and I would never want anybody to have a near death experience, but it's um because I even talking about this, and I'm 55 now, and it took me a long time to talk about it because um it was so peaceful. It was such love that I've never felt in my entire life. Like, we love our children, we love our spouses, right? There
Mhm.
is no there is no amount of words in the human dictionary to explain the love, the joy, the peacefulness. When I left my physical body, I could feel a dark tunnel slightly for a few minutes, and it was like I was being pulled into this light. And this light was so bright. So to me, I call it God. Some people call it God, the source of light, the source, whatever you call it. I call it God. I got this presence of this strong light. And when I was pulled up to the light, I looked around, and it was the most beautiful grass I've ever seen, the beautiful butterflies, every animal you can imagine. Um, there was no temperature. My body had no temperature. I wasn't hot or I wasn't cold. Um, I couldn't speak with my mouth, but I only spoke through my head and through my heart. So at that time, there was a person at that form that I didn't know who it was. And I had said, wow, it's so beautiful here. And I said to this person, who are you? And he just smiled at me. And he waved to me and he said, follow me. And as he brought me, I literally floated. And I seen all my whole life at such a young age. And I said, geez, it's beautiful. Can I stay here? And I kept on saying. And then instantly I was placed back on the ground. And I started seeing all souls, outlines of people I knew. I remember I was only 5 at the time. People I knew, people I didn't know, and all the souls, even when I'd seen them clearly, as clear as day as I would see you, or just outlines of them. And I already knew, I could feel them. I knew they were connected to me, whether it be spiritually, a relationship or not. I already knew the souls. I already felt them. I might have didn't have names, but I already knew them. So that was very traumatic for me. And again, it's difficult at times to talk about it because it is so beautiful there. And then that happening, coming back and realizing I'm now somewhere that I had a full-blown seizure, and I don't realize how long I was under the seizure, to be honest with you. And my grandparents, we didn't discuss this because it was very traumatic for them, you know.
Yes.
So my grandparents have passed, so this is something that I didn't discuss with them since they passed. And
Yes.
then, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, it's. I mean, I'm fascinated with the vivid memory you've got of that different, realm, different dimension, and how almost. I mean, of course, you are talking about it as a grown up now, using your vocabulary, but it almost feels to me like you in that dimension you were an old soul touching your soul family. That's one thought which came to mind when I was listening to you. I've almost imagined you in this beautiful garden, floating in a sort of flowery dress, smelling the roses. But it's that sort of imaginary you are evoking by describing that experience. So it's immensely beautiful.
Correct. And again, that's a light touch of what I experienced. There's no words. And I've talked to many people with near-death experiences from all over the world. And basically they all have that same feeling, that peace, that love.
Yes.
And the colors, like, you think red is red, there is no such thing as red until you see it for yourself. The colors are so vibrant, the peace, the warmth, the lightness. And the only thing is that at times when I do discuss this, because I've talked about this, and sometimes I get teary-eyed because through my whole life, knowing that at such a young age, I've always struggled being here on earth because I knew how peaceful and that love that I just wanted to remain there. And then it happened again at age 10, but more of an out of body experience. But the love, the peacefulness, and even through my work, there's always peace and love through my work and through the souls. And, again, we have to realize that we're on this earth, but having a near-death experience is traumatic for people. And most of the time it is very beautiful. And even looking through your life review, you know, when you come up to this certain, how I can say it to you, when you're brought up to this holding place, okay, we call it like a holding place. And it's like, okay, a near death is really, okay, you really didn't go all the way over because then you wouldn't come back, okay?
Yes.
But a near death experience is when you're at this point and you're at this holding place of your belief and of what you're connected to here. And where I was, I knew at that time, all I kept on saying is, I want to stay. And within seconds, I literally felt like my whole body was grabbed and thrown back down in. And it was like, and it was like, that's the only way I can describe it. So yes, it was beautiful. It was incredible. And I've had many awakenings, as people talk about, like, the name of the group is
Yes.
Spiritual Awakenings, but we don't have to have a near-death experience. And sometimes people have out-of-body experience or awakenings during giving childbirth or accidents or near-death experiences or whatever it may be. So my last one, which is I'm hoping my last, is in 2016. I got into a car accident with my husband.
That is very recent. That's
Say
only
again?
it's very recent, over only 5 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, yeah, it was 5 years ago. Yeah. It was in July, and me and my husband, we work so much, so we taken a ride up the coast, and we stopped, and I went to go get my mother perfume. Long story short, I was stopped at a light, and this woman came up behind us, and I happened to be in the driver's seat of my car. And before I even could say anything, my head went up. I looked in the rearview mirror and she came up behind us and smashed into the back of my car. All I remember is basically my head spinning, not really hearing too much except the screaming, and cars screeching of tires. I remember that a little bit. Um, and then I was trying to walk in and come back in and out. I say walk in and out because I was like in out of my body, and I'm like, oh no, and then I go, oh yes, it's so nice. So it's almost like I was going in and out at that time. And then that changed my whole life. It changed my whole entire life. I knew that there's always been something greater. And again, you don't have to have a near-death experience. I knew this type of work that I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. I knew I was always going to serve people and humankind, and all creatures on earth to the best of my ability. I just had to go through it so many times and will continue to learn and evolve. These were hard lessons for me, as well as seeing my family and my friends be so close to me, but then walk away from me at the same time. So at that time, when I had my accident, I'm married, and I have my children and stuff. And about a year later, well, really long story short, I lost part of my vision in my right eye due to a brain injury. So my brain was swelling so much, it closed my eye canals, but they didn't focus on that because my head was killing me. And I had to learn how to talk and walk. I didn't remember what day it was. I was stuck on Tuesdays. Every day was Tuesday. I couldn't say the word apple. I went through a good year and a half of therapy. I would walk around. My mind and my life was completely shattered. I was home. My husband worked around the clock. What? Say
Yeah,
again?
was that caused by the accident?
Yes.
That brain injury was
Yes.
okay.
Yes. From my car accident, because the way that she hit me, my head went forward and went back, and then that was it. So, I just, I ended up later on came home, getting therapy, speech therapy. My husband worked around the clock. My whole life was completely shattered, and so was my mind. Short-term and long-term memory loss. Um, I had to learn how to speak again. I would stutter quite a bit. From what I knew, what the normal was, trying to get back to the normal, because I've always been a hairdresser my whole life. I always worked and traveled around the world and worked with the best of the best. And I always used to donate my time to different organizations, not just doing hair, but like Dana-Farber organization, working with the homeless or whatever I could do. So I always knew I had to serve in more than one capacity. But I always knew too my abilities and tweaking them and learning them as I grew up at such a young age, but was very shy and afraid to speak about it. So at this point in my life, I knew at 2016, when I had that accident, my life would never be the same, nor would I. Um, so I absolutely knew that I needed also not just the physical, that I was going to be different because I look nothing like I did before. And physically and mentally and spiritually, I um it blew up even more. I couldn't deny who I was anymore. I couldn't hold back my truth and my lies. People what they wanted me to believe, whether it be religion or family or friends. And it was very painful, I have to be honest with you, because you never want to hurt anybody, right? But I think the whole purpose of me coming out, if you want to call it, is to say, you're not alone. You're not going crazy, and you don't have to find your own love and light to have near-death experiences. And I also knew through our life struggles and obstacles, there is a lesson. And the biggest lesson I got from this was one, to make sure I speak my truth and to help others. I always knew that. I also knew too that there was a pivotal time in my life during this time. My husband works a lot and I couldn't see at all. I would have sunglasses. I was starting to lose vision in my left eye. So I was in blackness 24/7. I couldn't remember my name. I couldn't remember to get up. I was in pajamas at 3, 4 days at a time. I couldn't remember nothing. So
That's
I remember
so
it was
hard.
beyond
Yes.
my whole me. So I thought what was completely ripped out of me, completely. So it really woke me up even more, as painful as it was. So as much as
Yes.
we lost, I gained a greater understanding
Mm-hmm.
in my life. And what I can tell you is really quickly, um, that my husband was out plowing and it was dark at night. And I remember, he had to work because I had lost my career. I couldn't work, nothing. And I ended up going into the bathroom. And in the bathroom, there was a light. But when I came back out, there's usually another switch. Well, when I shut the light, I couldn't feel and see the wall, and my eyes were wide open and I could not see. And I always was very grateful for my life, even through the epilepsy, even through the accidents and the near-death experience and the out-of-body experiences. I've always been very grateful for my life. And at this one time, it took me about 20 minutes to crawl on the floor because as wide as my eyes were open, there was pitch black. I thought I was going to be completely blind. By the time I could find my nightstand and find the switch, I got onto my bed and I cried so hard and I said, God, thank you so much. I will never complain again. And I promise you that I will continue to walk my path the way you're choosing to guide me. So that was a huge awakening for me.
It's
So
very touching. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. This is so touching as well. It's one of those stories of overcoming
yes,
and finding your authentic self through that time of challenge, a massive challenge, where you need, as you said, you are new physically, mentally, spiritually. So I really thank you for sharing
Thank
this
you.
story, because I would love this story to be an inspiration for people who are who are suffering, who are in great pain, who are in great pain mentally or physically. It doesn't matter what kind of pain it is, but you've overcome this, you found yourself serving others, and you found your authentic self. So that is not an easy process, but there is a light in the tunnel, as they say, and
Yes.
you are a proof, a walking, talking proof. It gets better, but it is a very challenging time. I will stop for and just bring the comments. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
This is
So,
this is what happens when we when we have
technology.
someone. Yes, I'm so sorry. This is just
That's okay. So, just to explain too, the biggest thing is again, and I really concentrated, and I spoke to Spirit and I spoke to God, and I said, okay, what is the whole purpose? It's not for me to say, oh, it's about me. It's really not. It's really about letting everybody know. Um, Everybody's had their struggles, different degrees in life. And I really work with all my clients, whether it be through mediumship, whether it be hypnosis, which is phenomenal, spiritual advisor, and different type of sessions I give. I will tell you, for all the struggles and obstacles that I have been through, and they are in my book. A lot of them had to stay out. I kept out for certain reasons. Um, but I will tell you, as much as I doubted faith or God, and even being raised very strict, and it's really not about religion. You've got to do the work yourself. You have to do it. Many a times, I mean, I have so many experiences in my life, and again, it could be as something as small to be for someone, but it may be major for that person. So I don't judge, because other experiences may be traumatic for you, but not be for me, right? So I even tell everybody, have compassion for yourself, do the work, get help. And I will tell you, of all the people in my entire life and all the experiences that I've ever gone through, I had to do the work myself. And it was the times, many times, that I've wanted to give in and throw the towel in. And thinking and knowing how beautiful that we actually have everything that we need. Now, I'm not going to say it was easy. I'm not going to say that we're not going to have struggles. I'm not going to say that we are all going to experience grief. I will tell you that anybody that can help you is you, your love, your passion, your light. And every time you think it's dim, that doesn't mean your light ever goes out, even when you cross over into the spirit world. I'm a medium, a spiritual medium. I talk to people that have crossed over. I've met souls before I came back every time. I already know. You don't have to go through what I went through. I will tell you, the biggest thing is the reason why I wanted to speak about this, as much as it's been difficult, because I always think, oh God, it's been so beautiful. But now I think, okay, instead of rushing my life, why don't I just enjoy everything every single day and really look at the whole world and how you want to experience every experience. Now, some were done to me, some were not. Some were my choice, some were not. All I can tell you is do not give up that glimmer of hope. Know that there is so much love. There is so much unconditional love that spirit has, but that spirit is within you. And that no matter what it is, no matter what modality you need, a friend, a counselor, um, a group like this that we all love and support each other with such peace and no judgment, and whether no matter what it be, the angels, your guides, or whatever it may be, know that to stay in that presence of love. I will tell you, at the darkest days, that I came very close, very close. And for the grace of God and my own faith, and because of my love that I know that I have to share with people, that this is why I'm here. And I tell to my husband, God, if I got to do over this again, I'm tired. I'm like, I don't want to do this again. So,
Oh, that's, you've got your sense of humor as well, and that's beautiful, because apart from love there is joy. I think
oh
the
yeah,
two beauties which we forget in our rushing and sort of aiming for another goal, and sort of always chasing something. That's so beautiful what you said, that gratitude for everything, the
oh yeah,
smallest of the things, just for not forgetting to be present, which is absolutely amazing. And I knew we will hear a lot of wisdom from you, and we have.
thank you.
um, that's amazing. Let me just, and thank you so much. Sharing this experience is just amazing. But I would love to bring some comments, because we had some comments.
Sure.
We unfortunately, when people don't register with StreamYard, I cannot see the names, so I only see Facebook user from this perspective. We had a comment about a great topic. Yes, a great topic. And as Lana said, you don't need to have this
Yeah,
experience. You can listen to Lana and learn from Lana, because and other people who had those kind of experiences, they are not by choosing. Let's put it that way. The
yeah.
near-death experience never comes by choice, I think. Um, so we had Caroline Shan, who says that it's so interesting. She also had an out-of-body experience. It would be wonderful to hear more from you, Caroline. We have someone, again, Facebook user, I can't say the name, who loves you, Lana.
Oh, thank you.
Love you, yes, definitely. Chrissy Butson says she really needed this.
Oh,
That's
good, Chrissy.
great. And then maybe we have the same Facebook user who says that it was so wonderful to listen to such powerful, life-changing situations. And she feels so blessed to learn how we can all evolve to the next dimension, collaborating with like-minded change makers. Wow, that should be sold on t-shirts.
That's a great quote, right? I think the big thing is we don't have to experience something that you've been through, or through been through, in order to have love and to have compassion. And I've always known that, and I've always felt that my whole entire life. And I feel as though sometimes, people say, oh, you're in, rainbows and skittles. No, I live in this real world. I've had real experiences. I've had struggles and obstacles, not like everyone. Part of it, again, was my choice, and part of it wasn't. But I can only share of my love and my knowledge with other people. It doesn't mean that I'm still not going to get hurt. It doesn't mean that I'm still not going to lose family members or friends. But to hold that space, and even Monica, I mean, we've never met. I've met so many people, and I work with so many people around the world. I already feel you. I already feel your love. So I work through, even with other clients that I might not physically, and sometimes people think that they have to see me because traveling, and then I started traveling quite a bit, and then COVID happened. I didn't never have to see you, but if you want to see me, that's
Oh,
fine.
lovely.
I can see you here. I can see you on a private session or whatever. And we'll be doing more things too within the group, which I'm really excited about. But just try to be present not try, be present every day. I get caught up in real life stuff and work and being and doing scheduling. Be present. People say connect with the breath. That's very important. Your breath is that love of life. That breath is you. That breath is the joy and the love within you. And I can't convince anybody what they believe and what they don't believe. But I will tell you, I'm sending so many people so much love and so much healing for whatever they've gone through or going through right now. I can't fix everybody. I can't only work on myself like we have to be present and work on ourselves, but to be in that presence with each other. So I thank you so much, Monica, and everyone that's watching this.
Thank you, Lana. That is beautiful. And I would just mention we had Robert de Souza, who is grateful to me for presenting such a powerful, gifted guest like you, Lana. So we are so grateful to Robert and everyone who's been watching and everyone who is watching it on replay. We are grateful to you for sharing your light, making sure your light is not dimmed too much. It's always there. Let's remember that. Let's just make it shine. And let's stop every day and think about what we are grateful for. I think it's a very good, amazing message from you, Lana. And let's remember to be grateful, be love, be light, and share it with others, even if they don't want it.
Yeah.
But let me just wrap up, Lana, with an announcement that we are meeting again next week with Lana during our masterclass. Our masterclass is going to be on how to open the third eye. So we'll have more wisdom from Lana and more beautiful advices, more presence from Lana. So I invite you to join us. And I'm so grateful to you for being here with me, spending that wonderful, beautiful time sharing your experiences. And we have Kelly Courier, who is grateful to both of us. So we are grateful back to you.
Thank you. Yes.
I love that coherence of heart and mind. That's so beautiful. I love moments like this we are experiencing now, when we are expressing our love and gratitude for each other. I absolutely love you, Lana. I love everyone in this group, and I'm just having this beautiful moment of bliss. So thank you for facilitating it for us.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Monica. And I feel the same way. I can feel your love through the screen.
I hope so.
Yes.
There's a lot pouring out there. So thank you. And we have, we have someone who is signing up for the masterclass. So yes, next week, Monday, we start the same time as today, so 6 p.m. UK. And I'll see you, Lana, and I'll see everyone who is joining us.
Yes.
Thank
you. And anybody that needs to reach out to me, would you mind telling them my website, just in case, if they want any information? It's Lana, Lana Louise, LOUISE.com. I'm in United States, in Massachusetts, but you can look me up on the website, shoot me an email. It will take some time to get back to you, but if not, I thank all of you for being present with me. Monica, thank you so much. And I can't wait to get out to Italy to meet all of you. And I appreciate everyone that was here and sharing my love with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lana. I'll make sure your website, your contact details are in the comments. So anyone who felt drawn, resonated with Lana, please get in touch. There is amazing help available there. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you for now. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.